Hi everybody, it's Dr. V. Welcome back to my channel. I want to say first of all thank you to everybody who's liked, subscribed, commented. All of you guys are amazing, and I just so appreciate being able to be a part of this journey with you. Secondly, if you'd like to book a private reading, all of the information on how to do that is in the description box below. You'll also find information for the new coaching program that I'm starting in January, which is open for enrollment now. So yeah, that's all for announcements. Today I'm doing a spread on working with your shadow. So this is about learning how to work with our shadow material in order to really help transform ourselves and hopefully our connections. So, Spirit, please use me as a clear channel for communication. May the messages that come through be in the highest good of all those concerned. I draw a sacred circle around this space, setting my ego to the outside. I call upon my ancestors, counsel, angels, divine love, higher wisdom, ascended masters, to be with me, protect these messages, protect this space, protect the listener and the person for whom they're listening. May these messages serve to inspire, encourage, and transform. And so it is. Okay, so I'm using the Psychic Tarot by John Holland and the Les Vampires deck by Lucy Cavendish. And I'm just going to pull 2 cards for each question. So the first one is, what do you need to accept? So you, listener, what is it that you need to accept right now? Mental conflict and witness. It says to know personal evidence and to speak out. Okay, so here's the deal. What you need to accept in this connection, your divine love, soulmate, whatever language you like to use in this connection, is that this person that you're listening to this reading for, that you're thinking about, is in a space of mental conflict. They don't understand, they don't get it, they're at a stalemate, they're not moving forward. Whatever it is, you have to accept that, okay? You've got to be able to accept that in order to be able to move on and to move forward. And by moving on, I don't mean moving on from the connection. I'm not saying that you need to like bail or jump ship or anything like that. I'm saying that the first key to freedom is accepting things as they are, as they stand currently. And if you're not accepting it, if you're continuing to think like, oh, things are going to magically change, or circumstances are going to shift overnight, you're going to continue to keep yourself stuck. So what you need to accept is this mental conflict. You may also be having some mental conflict yourself around certain situations. You may be in you might have a karmic relationship or some kind of connection with somebody else that is creating a lot of mental conflict. That's okay. Sometimes we have mental conflict. We just have to be at peace with it and recognize that sometimes that's just part of the journey. The also thing that you have to accept is that there are certain things that you know. Intuitively, there are things that you are very aware of. You may not want to admit that, okay? You may not want to believe it, but it's true, okay? So if you've had intuitive hits about something, and you've been kind of trying to avoid knowing it, it's time to accept the truth. I'm going to read from the book what this says. To have seen what you thought once was only a rumor or only hearsay or perhaps even made up means you have changed. And you have seen us, you've seen spirits, you've seen the play of colors around a human being, their auric-filled telegraphing information to you at all times. So on and so forth. And you have witnessed something of late that others still deny as real, but now you are a witness, and having seen, you can't unsee. Knowing, you can no longer deny. It is not that we wish for you to tell of all of your new knowledge, it's that we wish you not to lie to yourself, to no longer agonize over questions of whether what you saw and felt and understood is true or untrue. There is so much on this planet of ours. So, the blessing for this card is that the veils of illusion and deceit have been lifted. While this can be painful, it's also a great blessing to know the truth. Do not doubt your experience. And the curse of this card says it can be tempting to protest. It can be tempting to protest against being lied to or hurt. Know that the road you are on will take you many places, and the stop on the journey was necessary for you to take the next steps. Wiser, you are now free. There is no curse to this card. So really what I'm getting is that There may be some of you who have recently discovered a truth. Maybe you are with somebody, or you're in love with somebody who has been telling you that they plan to leave their current relationship, or they plan to move in a different direction. It's like maybe they're like, just after the holidays, just give me some time after the holidays. And then you found out something like they're telling you that they're going to leave this person, and then they proposed. Or they just found out that their partner is pregnant, or they are the partner who's pregnant. And so you're like, you know something now, and it's like you can't deny it anymore. You can't deny that, at least for now, things aren't going to be working out the way that you'd hoped they were. And maybe you're still in a space of mental conflict about that. Maybe you're just not wanting to accept it. Accept that as of right now, this situation is not going to come to pass, and I just need to accept it. The other thing is that the other message that's coming through is that there are a lot of people who get on this sacred love journey, whatever label you use, and oftentimes they don't believe it. They start to doubt it. They're like, how could this possibly be real? Maybe this is all in my imagination. Maybe I'm not seeing things. And so your doubt is keeping you in this mental conflict where you're like, on the one hand, like, this feels really real and I think it's true. And then on the other hand, you're like, but it's not real. How could this possibly be real? And so that may be contributing some of that. The truth of the matter is that if you know in your bones that what you experienced with this person was real, then it's real, and you just have to believe it, right? It's like sometimes people don't believe the paranormal, or, you know, that kind of stuff when it happens. That's what this card is saying. And sometimes we just have to accept that the world is bigger and the universe is more vast than we are even able to imagine. And sometimes we have to believe things that are difficult to understand. So that there's two different messages that are coming through with that. The first is about, you know, something about your counterpart and their situation, or you and your situation, that you just can't deny anymore. It's something that you're going to need to accept and to be able to move forward. So what is it that you need to forgive? Interesting. So you need to forgive the obstacles and challenges. You may be feeling like your counterpart, like your person, has made this 11 billion times harder than it needed to be. You may be like, wow, if you would only just get out of your own freaking way, then we wouldn't be having these issues. If you would just, do the right thing, make the right decision, follow your heart, then it wouldn't have been so hard. We wouldn't have had all these obstacles. We wouldn't have had all these challenges. So you may be in a space where you're really blaming your counterpart really intently for what has happened. You know, they may have done some things, like they may have done things that were questionable. They may have lied to you. They may have chosen other people, and it created all these obstacles. It created all these challenges, and you're sitting here thinking like, you know, if you would only just follow your heart and follow the path and the truth of this love, things wouldn't be so hard. Sorry, I just bumped the camera. But you have to forgive that, because the obstacles and challenges are making you stronger, like that Kelly Clarkson Strong Right song, like what doesn't kill me makes me stronger. Which, you know, I'm not a big fan of the whole like struggle love thing. Like, I don't believe in that. I don't believe that struggling with someone shows how much you love them, but that's a whole nother issue. But you got to forgive this. Like, yeah, they've made it hard. They've brought some obstacles. They've brought some challenges into your life. Perhaps you were like, my life was great, and then I met you, and now my life is in chaos, and I feel like, you've brought all these challenges, and there's all these obstacles, and now you're frustrated. So it's going to be important for you to forgive that and to release that energy from your counterpart. The other thing is about this card, this resurrection. I feel like for a lot of you that there are people that you feel like this connection could have been, we could have had a recovery. We could have had a comeback. We could have fixed this. We could have moved forward. But they chose something different. And now you're kind of needing to forgive that. You're needing to forgive that they didn't choose to do that they didn't choose to do the work. This is also a 44, which is an 11-11 4 times. So the blessing of this card is that the change can be made quickly and swiftly. And the curse of the card is that people might feel like they need to pretend to make changes. Yeah, it's that like that you can. This is a card about making things happen for yourself. Okay, that you don't have to fake it to make it. That's what this card, like the shadow side of this card, is about people feeling like they need to fake it to make it. That they need to like keep smiling and going along and pretending to be something other than what they are in order to have success. And this is like, no, you don't have to do that. You have the ability to shift things and change things. And so part of what you need to forgive is, and to move forward with, is understanding that this person chose not to go in that direction. They chose to do the hard thing instead of doing the right thing, which would be to do their work and to manifest change so that they can have, this connection can come to fruition. But we also have to remember that we mirror each other. So I'm not saying that if they're dishonest, that automatically means you're dishonest. What it means is that they're reflecting something back to you that needs to be healed or transformed within yourself. So it's important to continue to do your own work. Forgive yourself as well, because you may have contributed to some of these obstacles and challenges. You may also be preventing your own resurrection by some of your patterns and behaviors. This is when, when people get into that energy of being codependent or being, having limiting belief systems or not participating in their own healing, that can also create obstacles and challenges and help us or keep us from being able to resurrect the connections as we want to. So the next question is, what do you need to release? Wow. Memories of love. And supernatural. Interesting. So here's the deal. This memories of love, it's like what do I need to release? The first card that comes up is memories of love. So what this is saying to me is that releasing the past. If you have been holding on to these memories of love with your counterpart and really keeping it, it can keep you stuck. The romanticism can keep people stuck. So it's important to release that. I'm thinking of a book that I have. I'm not going to tell you the title because I don't want to spoil it, but it talks about this, where a person has a connection that's really powerful, and part of their healing journey is going back to a very special place that he shared with his person and releasing the memories, really forgiving and releasing and letting it go, and physically, symbolically doing it by releasing something into the water. So very similar to what's happening within this card. So some of you may really need to do that. You may need to release those memories of love. Maybe you've got letters or cards or photos that you still have on display that are keeping you stuck, because the reality is that if you're still holding on to photos, like if you're in separation with your love, with your divine love, and you still have their photo on your desktop, on your computer, or on your phone, you're still reflecting on that all the time. And it's not a bad thing, right? It's not bad to look back on the past with love, but if you still have attachment and you still want them to come back and you're still in that space where you're feeling stuck, like waiting for them, it's important to release that. Even just a symbolic letting something go will be important. I had an article of clothing of my counterparts that I had, and part of my releasing when I went through this part was I actually put that in the donation box and got it out of my house, because I was like, otherwise I'll continue to want to hang on to it and all of that, and I just couldn't. I needed to free myself and release myself. So there may be some of that needs to happen. That people need to release this and let it go with peace, okay? Let it go with love, not like anger, but releasing with peace. And the supernatural. So what I'm getting from this is that this is a supernatural connection, okay? We all know that. If you're in a soul-based love connection, you understand that it's supernatural. But part of releasing it is about recognizing that you can continue to be part of this supernatural connection without needing to have it look a certain way, okay? That it doesn't have to look the way that you think it needs to look, the way that you've maybe been conditioned to look. There's also this needing to release the idea that because it's supernatural, it has to work out in a specific way. That doesn't always happen. Okay, it doesn't happen. Sometimes you'll hear different readers that have different beliefs, and people are free to believe whatever it is that they want to believe. That's what free will is. But whenever somebody says, if it's, you know, a twin flame, it has to look this way, then that becomes dogma. And dogma means that we're attached to beliefs and we don't stay open to the supernatural and the magic. And so just be very conscious of that. You may have to release some beliefs around what this is supposed to look like in order to get into liberation. So some of this may also be releasing some of the needs. I get people a lot. I have people that do this quite often, that they'll be looking for signs all the time, or people that get readings repetitively, which is fine. You know, I'm not going to knock that, but I don't feel like for personally, I would, and I tell people this, and people that I've read for know this, that I will often say, like, you know, if you just got a reading last week, you don't really need to get another full reading so soon. Give yourself some space. So it may be some of the people may need to release the attachment to the supernatural, watching tarot readings on YouTube all the time. I had somebody tell me one time that they spent literally like 12 or 16 hours one day watching YouTube videos, and I was like, that's intense. Some people may need to release that, which I know is crazy, right? Because here I am, like, this is what I do, and so here I'm telling you, like, maybe you need to re-examine how much energy you're putting into the supernatural, and in order to uphold your beliefs in this connection. So really that is going to resonate for you however it resonates. It may not resonate at all. It may resonate for some people. But it's definitely about staying open to the magic, but not being super attached to trying to find answers in the supernatural. Like trying to look for signs all the time might be actually keeping you stuck. So what can you learn from this right now? Wow. Transformation and courtesy. I love this. Okay, so here's the deal. What you can learn is how to allow things to transform. You know, there's a quote by Joseph Campbell. He's a mythologist. He studied with Carl Jung, and I don't know if he studied with or was an apprentice, but worked with like James Hillman and all those like you know, mythologists and whatever. But one of the things that I think, anyway, sorry, I might have just misspoken. That's what happens sometimes when I start channeling, is like my thoughts get, they come in like really fast, and trying to keep them all straight can be like difficult. But anyway, the quote is, if you're falling, dive. Okay, so what this card is saying to me is that there are people that are learning in this, that instead of just feeling like they're free falling to their death or their, you know, to the pits in this process, that sometimes we can just dive into our own transformation, that we can participate with it, that when we see things falling apart, or if we see things starting to shift and to change, that we don't have to resist it. We don't have to resist the transformational cycles. We don't have to resist things coming to an end or things shifting, that we can actually really participate with it, and that we can learn how to use the transformation for our good, for our highest good, that we can really be in that space of being a co-creator and participation with our transformational journeys. Instead of resisting, instead of trying to stop it, that we can dive into these transformations and be like, oh, I see this aspect of my life is coming to an end. Great. How do I participate with that? How do I contribute to that? Instead of resisting and dragging my heels. Now, this is interesting that this shows up. What can we learn from this is courtesy. So what is this saying? To me, the first thing that comes up, courtesy, is about respecting people's autonomy. Okay, sometimes people think that, especially in these connections, I get a lot of times where people kind of want their own will, and they're not always respecting their counterpart. I know that's hard to hear, but sometimes it's like we want what we want so bad that we want to put our will in front of the other person's. Like we want what we desire so bad that we might even step on other people's toes, or not be courteous and respecting their boundaries and their space. And so it's like, I get people, you know, where people will say like, they've blocked me, and so I created another account and I followed them there, and then they blocked me again. And then, you know, saying things, you know, sometimes if we're telling people, if we're giving them messages that they didn't ask for, we're not being courteous to their personal boundaries and their respect. Even something as simple as giving unasked for advice can be discourteous. It's always about, like, consent matters, okay? Consent matters in all things. And so even in this spiritually based connection, part of what we're learning, part of what people can learn is how to be courteous and how to respect people's freedom and their free will and their autonomy, and to not feel like it's our job or our role to force them into any kind of transformation. That if we issue an invitation to somebody and they choose not to go in that direction, the right thing, the courteous thing, the mature thing is to respect that decision and to let them have their space and let them take their own path. That's something that we have to learn on this journey. Sometimes the courteous thing to do is to back away, is to let them have their own the freedom to make their own decisions, even if that decision is self-destructive, even if we don't like that decision. Really, unconditional love is about respecting people's freedom and letting them make their own choice, even if that choice takes them away from us. That's really divine love. Divine love is not trying to make our will be somebody else's will. When you really love somebody, you let them have the freedom to make their own choices. Even if those choices, again, take you away. I think about parenting, for instance. I know as a mom that my job is to raise children that are independent so that they can eventually fly from home, you know, to leave and to go live their own lives. And I understand that. And that's my job as a mom, is to actually to love them enough to give them the tools to be able to empower them to someday leave me. And I'm not saying that that you're expecting your counterpart to leave you. I'm saying that if you're in a situation with somebody who is, for whatever reason, not able or doesn't even want to come toward this connection, be courteous and respect that. Respect them not wanting to do that right now, and be willing to take a step back and let them have their own choice. Let them walk their own path. That is what divine love does. So where can you seek healing and recovery in this? Wow. I love that. Spiritual union and the call of the night. So here's the thing. 2 messages are coming through with this. How you can seek healing and recovery is with spiritual union. Now that can be coming into spiritual union with your counterpart. And that means, spiritually on a 5D level, you can come into union. I know twin flame couples who are not physically in union, who actually are in physical relationships with other people, but are in spiritual union with each other. For whatever reason, the contracts that they made in this life at this time led them in different directions. And part of their journey was about allowing that to happen, okay? Allowing that each other to have the freedom. So for instance, maybe your counterpart met somebody before they met you, and they have young children, and they're like, my contract right now is I need to be present with my children. I can't interrupt my marriage right now because I really need to be here. I need to be in this space. And it's okay to say, like, you know what, I understand that. I get it. Like, your job right now, your primary responsibility is to do that. And you can still be in union, right? You can be spiritually in union and physically not together. That is okay. And not only is it okay, it's like, that's a lot of people, their biggest challenge is getting into that spiritual union. So part of how you can heal is getting into that spiritual union with your counterpart, working in the 5D, meditating, communicating in the higher levels, forgiving, releasing attachments, releasing the need to have things look a certain way. But it's going to be really important for you to get into that space of spiritual union. The other message that came through is about, for a lot of people, there are other connections that are available that you haven't allowed yourself to see yet. There are other connections, such as you may have a twin, not a twin flame, sorry, a soulmate partner that's available to you, that wants to come in and wants to bring that sense of spiritual union to you, that wants to bring that healing and that love and the abundance and the joy that you desire to feel, that they want to bring that into you, but you may not be open to it right now. So how you can open yourself to healing and where you can seek healing and recovery is with the spiritual union. This could be with a soulmate, like a romantic partner. This could be a soulmate that's not romantic. It can, really can be a lot of different things, but there is that sense of spiritual union that wants to happen for you, and you can get a lot of healing and recovery through that if you open yourself to it. Again, I'm thinking of this book that I referenced earlier, and part of the journey was for people in this connection to go into other connections where they were able to receive a lot of healing and a lot of conscious growth outside of their connection with their divine counterpart, their twin flame, or whatever label you like to use. And it was necessary for them to transform this connection. The other thing is that there's an adventure that is calling to you. This again could be another connection. This could be, somebody accepting a different job in a different area of the country, moving, doing something new, creating some art. But this is literally saying that part of how you can get healing and recovery is to go toward what you're attracted to, go toward what makes you feel passionate, alive, what makes you feel daring, and it's something unexpected. There's like some thrills that want to happen for you. This is not, I'm not saying like go out and do like, just go out seeking adventure for adventure's sake, but I feel like a lot of people, adventure is knocking. You may have opportunities that are popping up out of nowhere that are like, someone's like, hey, do you want to go take a trip? And you're like, sure, why not? And take that. If somebody offers you something cool and is exciting and adventure, go for it. Even if it's not something like massively, like, do you want to go hike in the Andes? Well, maybe that's not something that maybe it's not that kind of adventure. Maybe it could just be doing something that's out of the ordinary, whatever that might be. But it's like, let yourself live again. Okay. Part of how you're going to heal is going out on these adventures, having some excitement in your life, riding a roller coaster, if that's your thing. Doing something that makes you feel passionate again, whatever it is. I have a friend who took, improv classes, and it was something that was very scary and intimidating, but she answered the call and went on that adventure, and it was really amazing. It built a lot of self-confidence, a lot of power. So it may be something like that, but whatever it is, it's like, start taking some chances, because it's time for you to get that healing and that recovery, and that's how you're going to do it. So where can you get help? I love this because this is a shadow reading from your shadow. That's where you can get help, from your shadow, and with hope. So how you can get help moving through this is literally making friends with your shadow. I call it shadow dancing. I've said that to you before, because too many times people want to disown their shadow. They want to disown the aspects of themselves that they feel are less desirable, or maybe aren't as like spiritual as they think they should be, or they don't want to admit that they have this dark side. But we all have a dark side. It was, I think, the Roman god Janus, on the one side was like the positive, and the other side of the coin was negative. Everybody has it. We all have dark sides. We all have light sides. That's just how it is. We have to integrate that. We have to learn how to dance with our shadow, how to not make it our enemy, but to learn from it. One of the tools that I always use is I call it like the like calling together the council, and it'll be like a sort of a meditative act that I do, or I'll advise my clients to do, which is essentially to imagine yourself sitting at a table, like Knights of the Round Table or whatever, having like an inner board meeting, and you look at all the different aspects of yourself, different aspects of your personality, including your shadow side. So we each have an inner child. We have a shadow side. We have different voices that kind of speak to us, to our experience. I'm not talking like, you know what I'm talking about, soul voices, aspects of who we are. And so sometimes you just have to call a meeting and speak to your shadow and see what your shadow has to teach you, because sometimes, well, not sometimes, often, there's a ton of really great material that's hidden in that shadow side, that if we could just access it and not be afraid of it and kind of dive into it and experience and dance with our shadow, and learn how to make friends with it, learn how to bring peace to it. There's so much growth and transformation that's available. And so where you can find help is literally in your shadow. The other place where you can find help and support as you move through this healing journey is with hope. Okay, so many people are expecting or believe that the only way that they can have hope, or that they can have like positivity in this life and in this in their life as a whole, is if they might have their hope attached strictly to their divine counterpart. And so how you can find hope and healing is finding hope in other ways, okay? So talk to other twin flames who are in separation and who found joy in separation, who came back together after years of being apart, who did the work, who did the journeying. But find hope in your life. Go look for hope. Look for things that can give you hope. Hell, I mean, even spread hope. One of the things that I like to do is like, I'll take dollar bills and like write little notes, like on sticky notes, and kind of like love notes from the universe, and stick it, like take a stack of like 10 $1 bills with little love notes from the universe, anonymous of course, and then just hide them in different places, like in the grocery store or in a different place. And so when somebody finds it, you know that when someone finds it, they're getting like this like love note from the universe with a little, $1 to do something with, or $5, or whatever you feel led to do. But you can start spreading hope, and you can start being a person that spreads cheer, and that you look for that, and you look for that with others, and you look for other ways to find hope about your life and your journey and your path going forward, so that you don't feel stuck anymore. You don't feel like all of your attachment is to this connection or to this particular person, and things aren't working out the way that you want them to. I'm really getting very clearly like Spirit saying, like, become like what's the word that I'm looking for? Like an architect of hope. Help other people feel hopeful. Help spread that. Do whatever it is that you can to be a light in the universe, and that's going to help you to shift yourself, to shift the connection, to shift, the consciousness of humanity. But don't be afraid of your shadow. Don't be afraid of whatever comes up from your shadow at this time, because it's coming up for a reason. It's coming up as something for you to heal, something for you to transform. So anyways, that is your reading. I hope that you found it beneficial. Please let me know if you have any questions. Take care. Bye.